You're listening to the Radical Transformation Speaker Salon, hosted by Nicole Harlow. 4 days worth of transformational interviews, meditation, and surprises designed to rock your world and change your life. Your year of soul discovery and wild metamorphosis starts today.
Hey, Nicole Harlow here, and I am with Nadia Krauss, the creatrix of Happy Wholesome Life. Nadia is, in her heart of hearts, a teacher, healer, and a guide, and she deeply cares about mind-body medicine, supporting women to find and live their personal truth, healing all there is to heal while mastering personal alchemy. As such, she likes to call herself a modern-day medicine woman and sacred self-care muse. Now, Nadia and I got into a whole conversation about self-care and the best practices that you can do to really create a rich self-care practice for yourself. So I hope you go over and find Nadia at happywholesomelife.com. She has a free book to give away for you guys, so you can hop over there. And hope you really enjoyed the interview and that it inspires you to really deepen your self-care practice. So here we are, and so the idea for the speaker series was just to get together some cool female entrepreneurs, soulful entrepreneurs, and just talk about transformation, and hear a bit about your story and get to share that with the audience. So welcome, really excited
welcome.
to have you here. Yeah. So Nadia, why don't you? I think a good way to kind of ease into this is, I would love if you would just tell the listeners just a bit about who you are and what you create in the world. So who do you help? What are you passionate about in your work?
Okay, so I'll start. I'm originally German, and I was self-employed for about 10 years in Germany, but traditionally wellness personal trainer in a fitness studio. So I wasn't an online entrepreneur. It was very different, and I would do coaching and freelance work in the holistic. I tried to do the holistic wellness, but I was in a fitness studio setting. So I love how you talked about how your soul called you to do something different, and how you actually talked about, I do computer and branding work, but my soul is calling me to do something that has to do maybe, with transformation, with changing, with personal growth, with elevating your energy. And just, so the same happened to me. I was in this fitness studio setting I started in 2000. I burned out twice in a really bad way. First time I noticed was 2005. I didn't really know what hit me. I was just not healthy anymore. I had put on a whole lot of weight, and I actually had insulin resistance and on my way to diabetes too. And I was really depressed. So then I went into wellness coaching because I had to take care of myself, figuring out what actually happened to me. And it was that soul call where fitness seems so superficial. It's all about calories and burning fat and building muscle, and it's not really what I want to be doing.
Yeah. And what the external looks like.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And I had gained all this weight, and then you're confronted with why did you gain all this weight when you're teaching that many classes? And I myself didn't have answers for it. So I went to wellness school in Germany to get like a diploma and to heal myself. And then just a little bit framework about Germany. Unfortunately, it's all about what certificate you have, what degree you have, what diploma you have. Everything they do, even if it's a really simple job like being an office help, they actually have a 3-year apprenticeship.
Yeah, I believe it. I just moved from Germany, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, I was living in Berlin for a bit.
Oh my gosh, this is hilarious, because when I actually met you online, I was like, she looks German. I just said that. I mean, not that I look German or that we look German, everybody, but I was just like, she just feels like she's from Germany. This is hilarious. So, but you only lived there?
Yeah,
Or you
yeah.
German?
I'm from Philadelphia originally,
Okay.
but I just lived in Berlin, and I actually moved away from Berlin because I was trying to do my residence permit process, and it was just so much bureaucracy that it was almost impossible to
Right.
do at the Auslander Badehausen. I can't even pronounce it.
Yeah.
But, so my partner and I moved to Malta, and we live in Malta now.
It's beautiful. But it's funny. So I picked up German vibes. That's hilarious. But it's very much, every country has good and bad. And I mean, the good is what the Germans are known for, efficiency and quality. But they very much like about rules, and there's a ceiling to everything. So for 10 years, I was trying to fit in, and I got this wellness diploma, not only healing myself and finding out what was going on. That was the first time I realized that well-being and wellness and fitness happens on 4 levels. What we normally talk about is the physical level, but we need to look at the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual level, because the emotional, mental, and spiritual is what actually made me sick. It was spiritually, my heart and soul wanted to do something completely different. And mentally and emotionally, I had these patterns that kind of got me into this stress cycle of eating the wrong food, of over-exercising and burning myself out. So I was healing myself. I was getting this diploma. And then being in Germany, it was a new diploma. It was something that had never been done before. And I was trying to get a paid job because I had burned out so bad being an entrepreneur. So I tried getting a job for 2 years and kept being told, you're a pioneer. You're doing a great job, but we can't employ you. We can pay you as a freelancer, but we won't be able to employ you. So then I got back into a second business. And as if burning out once wasn't enough, I burned out a second time. So first time was at age 28. Second time was at age 35. And it was so bad because there's a whole lot of feelings of shame and guilt. And, I can't even take care of myself, and lots of bad feelings.
Yeah, here I am again, back, in a place again.
Yeah, like I haven't learned anything, and you've got all this self-talk. And it was so bad that my husband and I actually decided to do something really drastic. We sold everything we owned to go live and work on ship. And that's when my true journey began. Just like you said, your heart and your soul is calling. Yeah. So 5 years of healing. So I'm 40 now. It's been 5 years. And now I'm launching my online business, going from what I went through and taking all of that to helping other women that struggle with burnout and boundaries and codependency and all the things that I, no limits and no voice, helping them take care of themselves while they listen to their heart and soul, building whatever they want to be building.
Oh, that's so wonderful. So wonderful. So I'm curious, looking at your site and just reading about the work that you do. Can you explain to me what it means to be a sacred self-care muse? How do you interpret that? I just thought it was such a sweet way to call yourself.
Okay, there's two aspects to this. Sacred self-care, I put the word sacred in front of it because a lot of people, I don't know if maybe we could say society, just like fitness is attributed with certain things, self-care is attributed with certain things. Like self-care for many is getting a massage, getting pampered, doing something good for yourself, something luxurious, being pampered. While that is obviously a part of self-care, I put the sacred in front of it because we actually exist on 4 planes. We're soul essence in a human body, having a human experience. So yes, we have a physical being, but where's the emotion, where's the mental, and where's the spiritual being? So that's why I put sacred in front of it. And the muse part has to do with my personality type. It's actually, I do personality typing work as well, because I go on all these levels. I work spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And obviously physically, we show up with a personality, and soul and heart wise, we all have our own gifts, our own unique gifts that we want to, pour into our work, which we do through our personality. Yeah. And I did a certification program this year. It's called Rock Your Feminine Type to Rock Your Business. And it's all about personality typing. And I'm a double creative biz type and a muse seeker personality type. It's just what the creator of this program called, that personality type, muse seeker. And then it just kind of happened. I talked about sacred self-care the whole time, but then the sacred self-care muse kind of just happened.
Yeah, I love it. How would you describe the muse seeker personality type? What was that all about?
The seeker is basically the personality type that's really open and really passionate about life. So the seeker is always seeking, always trying to learn, to better yourself, to meet people. And while that is a good thing, the challenge of the seeker personality type is that the shiny object syndrome, or that you're too open, that you're trying to accommodate everybody because you're just that open and that passionate about everybody you meet without testing or seeing, is this a match?
So do you find with yourself
the muse...
sorry, I was just going to ask.
Yeah, no problem.
With the seeker and that personality type, do you find that you have to do a lot of sort of energetic work to kind of create boundaries around yourself or a protective barrier?
In Germany, I remember I worked with a kinesiologist, and I actually remember her telling me, Nadia, you're way too open. And she actually pointed to I'm thinking German now. What's it in English? Oh, now it's the German word coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The sixth chakra. Oh. I couldn't. And she pointed to it and she just said, Nadia, you're like completely open. And it's not good for you because you're just letting everything in. So that was the very first time that it was even mentioned. And I didn't even know exactly what she was talking about. So to answer your question, absolutely. But it took me years to actually be able to do it. That's why I burned out twice. Yeah, I'm at 40. Now I can do it. Now I've learned how to take care of myself and setting boundaries. It's about effective and efficient boundaries while strong inner self-nurturing. And sometimes when someone comes to me with a request, my answer is to myself, what do I need right now before I even try to accommodate the person coming to me with their need? So that's a way that seeker personality type, that challenge, because I really am really open and passionate about everybody I meet. But before I respond, I ask myself, what do I need right now? And then I fulfill that. And then I respond to the person.
I really like that. And I think that that's something that a lot of women would find difficult to do, to sort of put... It's not, when I hear it, I know that it's not a selfish thing, but it's just, it's kind of not what you're taught to do, to check in with yourself and say, what do I need right now to make sure that I'm in the best position, spiritually, physically, mentally, to then serve.
Yep.
And so I don't get depleted. Yeah. I really like that. Is there a specific practice that you do to ground and create a protective energy field around you?
There's a few shift? Yes, there's a few things that there's a really cute spell that actually I hired my own stress relief coach when I started creating the business container for this online business that I'm now working in and launching, because I was really, 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 really worried and scared. The human part in me really worried and scared that I was going to burn out a third time. Because when I healed the first time, I didn't think it was going to happen a second time, but it did. So I got really scared. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm building a business again. What if you do the same thing, the challenges of the seeker, and the challenges of the muse, actually, because the muse is all about creativity and is also got lots of ideas. So the openness of the seeker is giving me all these ideas, and the muse loves all these ideas. So you burn yourself out because you just spread yourself too thin. And I hired a stress relief coach, and she actually gave me a little spell because we worked on this. I was noticing that too much energy was coming my way because I'm too open. And then I would be really, really drained at the end of the day. So now I'm just trying to see if I can find this little gem. Yes, there it is. I actually have it in my notebook. Do you want me to share it?
Yes, please. I'd love to.
Because I thought it was really, really nice. It's really simple, but I loved it. And what I did, because I had a part-time job when I started building the container, and it was kind of toxic, like it is for many people. It's just a toxic environment. So there was this little spell that I would say as I was walking to work. And I would chant it until I felt like I was protected. So it just goes, goddess within, goddess without, circle protection all about, keep love in and evil out. And I would just keep going, goddess within, goddess without, circle protection all about, keep love in and evil out. And it was such a nice ritual to do while I was walking to work. Yeah, so that's something that I really love.
Yeah, so simple and sweet. I really like that. I like that a lot.
And there was one more thing, if you would like. There was two chants that while I was working with the stress relief coach just kind of came up. This one is a really cute one as well. That actually happened at work. If it would get too toxic, I would not say it out loud. I would say it in my head and I would visualize it. Would you like to hear it?
Yes, please.
Okay. This one goes, sweep, sweep, sweep the ground. All negativity shall be bound. I banish all that is profane. Only the positive shall remain. And I'll repeat it. Yeah. Sweep, sweep, sweep the ground. All negativity shall be bound. I banish all that is profane. Only the positive shall remain. And I would do that, and it would really, really help at work because it got this protective. Yeah, it just helped me. It just helped me.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that.
My pleasure.
I'm going to try to use that for myself, too. So I'm curious, what would you say are some of your favorite sacred self-care rituals?
Yes. Okay. Let's start traditionally with the physical, because most people, can relate to that the most.
Yeah, sometimes that's the easiest to get into because it's right there and it's tangible.
Yes. So the physical aspects of sacred self-care is really, it's developed into sacred time in the mornings to actually shift myself in the morning. I'd rather get up earlier to have quiet time, to just center myself through just some silence. It doesn't have to be long. It can just be 5 minutes, but silence, meditation, going for morning walks, taking some time to journal, do just a quick 20-minute yoga stretch. So it's a time in the morning where I just spend with myself, my body, walking, yoga, and checking in. And that's how I start my day. And it has nothing to do like with exercise or wanting to get fit. It really has to do with tuning into my body and stretching the kinks out that you have. Overnight you wake up stiff sometimes. So the walking and the yoga is good for me. It gets my energy flowing. And the silence and meditation just gets me into my body. That would be the physical aspect. Of course, later in the day, I do exercise, but it's very short spouts. It's like 10-minute muscle workouts because it's not about quantity. It's about quality, really, when you get down to sacred self-care. And that I do on the physical plane. And then the emotional plane, there's actually something that I had to do to heal myself. And I started doing it on ship. I discovered it before we went on ship, before we sold everything and then worked and lived on ship for 2 years. It's a book called Wired for Joy by Laurel Mellon, and it introduces a scientific solution to stress. And because I had burned out twice, you really start questioning yourself. You're like, what's wrong with me? Right. I got this book and I started reading this book. Oh, it actually started with, she has 2 books it started with a book called The Solution, and that was about weight loss because I had gained so much weight. And then I got her second book, The Path, and then it culminated in the 3rd book where it's based on brain science. And it was so interesting to read those 3 books and then to work with the emotional brain training technique to rewire, to understand my stress circuits that are really like it's neurological. It's really brain science. You're wired a certain way because of childhood experiences, which makes you prone to burnout and to stress out. So it took me 1.5 years to do that work, but I did it on ship. It was fun. And I rewired from stress circuits to joy circuits. So that's the emotional sacred self-care. It's called emotional brain training. And since I did it for such a long time to rewire, it's second nature now. Okay. And there's 5 tools that I could get into, but since we're talking about a wide range, I really recommend reading the book. If you're interested to rewire your stress circuits from to joy circuits, that's an emotional brain training, sacred self-care technique.
Awesome. I wrote that down and I'll make sure to share that with everybody too. Wired for Joy.
And the wonderful thing is that when you do that work, while it starts with your emotional brain, you actually uncover mental belief systems because that's the wire. That's what you believe about yourself that's causing you stress.
Okay.
It's really, really, actually, you know what? I'll share the tool number 4. Tool number 4 is basically Laurel Mellon presents it with 5 brain states. You have 5 brain states. The first one is you're in joy and peace. That's the one we all wish we were in all the time. That's when you feel connected to source. You feel connected to yourself. You feel connected. It's that oneness kind of feeling. Uh-huh. And brain state 2 is where you're a little stressed, but it's nothing, you're kind of in between 1 and 2. You're a little stressed, but it's more about asking yourself, how do you feel? What do you need? And do you need support with it, or can you do this by yourself? And then number 3, brain state 3, is where the negative emotions are actually laying on top of the positive emotions. So you're feeling a lot of anger, frustration, fear, worry, guilt, and all that lays on top of the feelings, like feeling grateful, secure, proud, and happy. So there's a tool she uses that you just express all your anger feelings, all your sad feelings, all your fear feelings, all your guilt feelings, and then you kind of get to the positive ones automatically. You just shift into it. And the 4th one is the one that is actually gold. It's the one that helps you identify your stress circuit and your belief system. So it starts with an emotion, and it starts with the same, it goes in a certain sequence, which is very natural. It starts with anger. Then you express all the anger inside of you. You just express it. You can use profanity, whatever you need to express all of it.
Are you expressing it verbally or writing it down, or just?
I used to write it down. I used to, because I'm a journaler, I'm a writer, but I know not everybody is a writer. Yeah. So if you have a quiet moment where you can express it, you can just lock the door and just express it verbally, then of course that works. But that doesn't always work. So you do it mentally, inside of yourself. But then you can kind of get lost. That's why I ended up just journaling it, because that was the easiest for me. And then you start by, I'll just take you. Is it okay if I take you through it?
Of course. course. This is perfect.
Okay.
Yes, I'm loving
Okay,
this.
good. So
I'm
let's
sure everybody else
just
is loving it too.
okay, good. So let me just think of something that I had to rewire. Okay. What you learn through emotional brain training is to actually identify what triggers you. And let's say, okay, I'm working on Ship because that's when I did most of the work. And there was a lot of guests and a lot of demands and a lot of weird expectations because they're on vacation.
Yeah.
So, so, so let me say I just got triggered by a guest, and I'm noticing this hot red anger bubble up. Like I'm really, really, really angry about what this guest just did. And there was many moments like that. And then I take care of the guest, so I'm not in trouble. I do my job professionally. But afterwards, I'm taking note. So if I don't get to look at that emotion right there and then, I commit to, okay, after work tonight, I'm going to journal about this. Okay. So that's actually what happened. So after work, I would oh man, and I went back to the guest, and I went back to that red hot feeling, and that guest really, really, really tripped me and triggered me, and I expressed all the anger about that guest. I'm like, who does that guest think she is or he is by asking me if we aren't open 24/7? How can't we not be open 24/7 because they on vacation and they paid $3,000 for their vacation and they want to go surfing now? Like there was a surf simulator on it. So I would express all the emotion about that. And then what would happen naturally in my journal, I would flow to sadness. I would flow to, I'm so sad about this because I have to become this person that I'm not, because I'm normally really open and passionate and I love meeting people and I'm smiley and I'm friendly. And I'm sad that this person stepped over my boundary. Mm-hmm. And so I express that, all the feelings of sadness, then I naturally shift to fear, because I remember I was working on my burnout, and I was really afraid that people were going to step all over me over and over again. Like I was never going to fix this in my life. That was the fear that I expressed. And then comes the feeling of guilt. And sometimes guilt is really difficult to express. So Laurel Mellon in her book suggests, or I think it's in one of her modules, because I actually bought the modules, where she says, if you can't say I feel guilty about, you actually just say, in an ideal world, I would be able to take care of myself, saying no to this person without getting so infuriated, without being triggered. Yeah. And then I went through the guilt, and then I got to a really, really deep belief system that I had ingrained in myself. And that's the stress circuit. And basically what I believed was that I am responsible for everybody's happiness, for everybody's well-being. And that's why I used to be a doormat.
Oh, wow, I connect with that so much.
Right?
Yeah,
So then I got to that feeling, and then she gives you the tool of rewiring it. So then you have to find the perfect sentence that expresses that belief. Mm-hmm. Then you spend about a week negating it. So negating it would mean I am not responsible for everybody's happiness. I am not a doormat. And I would use the not sentence for a week to just make sure that I realize and understand that I am not a doormat and I am not responsible for everybody's happiness. And then I would use an affirmation to basically set the new joy wire, where it's just, for instance, I use this expansion mantra. It's called, I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. So they are responsible for their happiness.
I can't believe you just said that, because can I just interject and tell you that right now I'm reading The Big Leap.
Yes, that's where it's from.
Yeah, well, and also I reached out to the author, and he is coming into the Your Year of Radical Transformation program, and he's going to do a little masterclass with us. Yeah. So not only am I so excited about that, and it just is imagine having the author, you're reading his book, and he says, "Yes, I'd love to be in your program." And Nadia, last night I actually just got to that mantra, and that's the part that I read last night, and so I wrote it down, and I can't believe it. Written down on my page of notes right here is, I am expanding in love, success, and abundance every day and inspiring others to do the same. And before we got on our call, I sat down and just said it a few times to myself, hoping that we could have a conversation that both inspires each other and the people who are listening as well. So as soon as you said that, I just felt like, oh man, synchronicity. Spirit is definitely here with us. Wow.
That is amazing. And that's the joy circuit. Now it's like a joy circuit as well. It went from a stress circuit to a joy circuit. So that's my emotional and mental sacred self-care. I use like emotional brain training by Laurel Mellon, but there's many other things like emotional freedom technique, which they also call tapping.
Yeah.
I just heard about a book, which I haven't read it, but it's all around the same lines. This book is called Emotion Code. So there's lots of sacred self-care practice which take care of you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
I just had my first, last week, I just went to my first theta healing session. It wasn't something I had ever heard about before, but I'm here in Malta. It's a really, really tiny place. There's just not very many people here, and I live in a small village. And I was just feeling like, I really, I could use some kind of energetic healing. And I thought, okay, well, I know I can find someone online that will help me. And I was sort of looking out in different Facebook groups and seeing like, okay, so who's like, an EFT practitioner that could get on the phone with me and just sort of help like, just maintenance, making sure that everything is just running. I want to break through some upper limit issues that are going on for me, and or that I know that have chronically sort of been going on. So I kind of put the call out to the universe and said, I'm looking for a healer. And lo and behold, a few days later, I met someone in my tiny village who does this theta healing. She said, oh, come in. She's 2 blocks away from me, which is just
that's amazing.
Crazy considering the place that I'm in right now. The fact that there's a healer that's 2 blocks away. And,
that is amazing.
Yeah, she had me come in on Friday, and it was wonderful. We just worked through some, very similar to the kind of work that you were just describing. We just worked through getting to the core belief issues of things that may have been holding me back. For me, it was a lot of stuff at the moment with upper limit problems, and what I've been noticing in myself is that I am at a place of abundance in my business after a lot of years of real hustle and burning out and putting a lot of energy into what I was creating, with the belief that I knew it was going to pay off at some point, and choosing from my family and friends a very unconventional path. So, why aren't you just getting the job? Why are you doing this? Why aren't, when are you going to like pay off your student loans? When are you going to settle down? I took a very unconventional path, and I really did believe this whole time that it was going to pay off. And it finally is at the point, like this, over the last 18 months, it's gotten to a place where both financially and spiritually, it's paying off. But I realized that there was still some resistance. And so I wanted to kind of get to the core of what the resistance was all about. And I identified that I think a lot of the resistance was coming from, I grew up in a poor neighborhood with parents, like teenagers, they raised me well, but I have upgraded out of the circle that I grew up in. And I had to get to that core belief that success for me equates loneliness and equates turning my back on my ancestors or community or my family, and getting to a point where there would be no one around me that would be a cheerleader for me. because I would be just skyrocketed off somewhere else all by myself. And so the work that I did in the theta healing was really, really helpful in getting to that core belief and trying to turn it around with, like you were saying, sort of addressing it and then bringing in some affirmations. And just, for me, it was just shining light on it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It really is. There's so many healing modalities, and there's no one healing modality better than the other.
Yeah.
Of course, my mom, for instance, I introduced her to emotional brain training, but it wasn't her thing. It wasn't, it just didn't resonate with her. So she now does emotional freedom technique, and she does tapping. But it's the same thing. It's really just getting to those core beliefs and rewiring to a new story. And that's amazing. That's really amazing. And my part's really just this is my wish for my work, is to make women aware that self-care for me is not just about, sacred self-care for women is really about physical, emotional, and mental well-being, and then following your heart and soul. So obviously that spiritual self-care is learning to identify how spirit, how soul, how your heart talks to you. And then I like to say, choosing the voice of love over the voice of fear, identifying that and just working your way through it, just like you were telling me, like you did in the healing session.
Yeah. Oh,
that's amazing.
I just lost the question I was going to ask you. Oh, no, it wasn't a question. I was just going to mention that when I think of sacred self-care, it's something that I've been thinking about, especially over the last few weeks, because so every Sunday night, I sit down around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I just plan my week ahead. I want to make sure that everything's on the calendar, so I do 2 different types of planning. One is very practical, and I write everything out on my calendar. I schedule it all. I go through and I make sure I have everything on there that I need to get done for the week, whether it's for clients or for my own business, or just whether I have to pay a certain bill or anything. So that kind of takes care of all of the practical. Then I have another practice that I do, which is I just go through and I have a series of questions that I ask every week. And first thing I do is I just write down my big goals that I like to achieve for the year. And I hold on to my goals very lightly. So I make sure week by week that there's still something that I'm interested in doing. So it's not I'm not just doing it because I said I was going to do it. I'm doing it because it still really connects. And sometimes goals fall off, and sometimes I add new ones as I'm going along. But I like the act of every week just writing them down again. Then I go into my 90-day goals, and these are the things I'm focusing on for the next 3 months that are going to help me get to the big goals. So they're sort of breaking it down a little bit. And next, I go through my wins for the previous week. So I write down anything really great that happened, big or small. I write things that didn't happen the week before. So quite often I'm writing I didn't meditate, So this is where I identify the habits and the good actions that I'd like to happen, but I wasn't paying enough attention to or giving enough time to. So it kind of gives me a barometer of where my energy was focused the previous week. And then
that sounds fantastic. Thanks. I love that.
And then the last thing that I do is I just set out my my top priorities for the week. And where the self-care portion of it comes in is I notice, if you look back over the year of, I've been doing this since January, and it's really helped me transform my life and my business, just staying on track every Sunday doing this. I used to put, when I did in my top priorities, I would do work, and I'd say, what are my priorities in work? And then I would do just miscellaneous, what things I have to get done this week in my top priorities, and self-care would come last. Okay. And I noticed that so the pattern of saying what didn't happen last week, it was always the self-care activities that didn't happen. And so I made a simple shift, which was when I do my top priorities now, self-care comes first.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it's just such a little thing, but for me, it's a physical and mental reminder of like, this is my top priority. And then
have you noticed how your energy is just so much better and how you actually get more done?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's amazing what even just 5 or 10 minutes of just breathing, meditating, or just sitting and allowing some time for just creative, daydreaming really, just creative brainstorming, or just letting my mind wander. It's amazing the kind of productivity that comes from that.
Do you know what my favorite, how can I say? You can't say a quote, but it's something I read. And I read this the other day, and it was something that I felt in my heart and my soul. And as I was implementing my own sacred self-care practice, it is not about masculine time management. It is about feminine energy management.
Oh, yes.
And I love that so much, because what you just described was the typical, and which is fine, because we live in that kind of world. It's only shifting into the more feminine now, but we live in that world where as women, we have to survive with masculine principles. So it's all about time management, which is good, but we lose our feminine grounding and we lose our feminine roots, because women just do things differently. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just different. And me, as you described it, I love that you shifted, to the self-care first, because that introduces the feminine energy management. And it's so nice to meet more and more women doing that, because even though I teach it, I am in a society where everybody talks about productivity and time management. So when I do my feminine energy management and I listen to outside noise, I start questioning what I'm doing. So I too have to remind myself and say, you have so much more energy and you get so much more done when you take care of yourself and what you need to take care of. You actually get it done. But if I write the calendar, because that's actually what burnt me out, I would always write too much on my calendar, and I would really go for it and try to finish it. And I don't do it anymore. I actually aim for 3 things a day now. 3 things a day in my work day. This is what I'm getting done.
Yeah.
And when I'm in my flow, I get done more, or I get done exactly those 3, or I have days, it all takes care of itself. Trusting the process. It's something new.
Yeah. I've been reading, it just reminds me of this month, I've been reading a book called The Optimized Woman by Miranda Gray, I think her name is. And it's all about using your menstrual cycle, your menstrual flow, to find these sort of optimal levels of like work and play throughout the month. And so she breaks it down like day by day.
Absolutely.
And I've been doing a little bit of a test. Sometimes I read the day before to kind of set myself up for the day. Sometimes I skip it and I read it after to see if where I was in line with where she kind of says, quote unquote, like I should be or I might be at this point in my cycle. It's been so spot on, almost, and probably at like day 20 or 21 now. And from day 1 until 21, every single day has been in line with what I want it to do. And
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. And I'll write that down, that book, because I do the same thing, but I actually did it with a woman called Ariel Spilsbury, and she has a 13 moon oracle. And so it's all the phases of the moon, the new moon, the full moon, waxing moon, and I forget what you call the other kind of moon. But I can totally relate to what you're saying, because sometimes I forget about it. And then at the end of the day, I look in what phase we are. And then I'm always surprised that the energy of my day actually fits the phase.
Yes. Yep. And now I was just having some of those days where in a very like masculine, like you're saying, a masculine sort of thrusting, sort of driving forward way, I was still trying to get the same amount of work done that I normally would some other day, and berating myself for how come my mind's just not in it today, I just can't do it. And then I would look around and say, oh, that's because I'm here. It just gave me like a framework or a map to say, it's okay that my brain's not 100% here, or I'm not getting 3 times the amount of work, because when I'm on day 7 and I'm in my dynamic phase, and I'm going to be so like, my mind's just going to be really sharp, and I'll be so focused, and it's just about setting up my month so, I can just tailor the work that I'm doing to where I am in my cycle at that point.
It's so wonderful to hear this, because it's so aligned. It's like, it's so nice. More and more women are really waking up to the moon cycle, and it's back to the roots. It's back to how it should be. The balance between divine feminine and sacred masculine. It's amazing. It really is so nice to hear.
Yeah, like even right now, just if you looked where I am in my cycle versus what it says in the book, I'm right in my prime time for communication, which is why I scheduled these interviews now. It's like last week I was in the dynamic phase, which is quite antisocial in a way, and is very like, I'm just going to sit at the computer because I can get like 3 times the amount of work done today as I could any other time. It's kind of inward. And what was cool is the author was saying that there's this small window of time between when you menstruate and when you ovulate that you can't get pregnant. And so it's like nature gives you these like 4 or 5 days of just turning inward and being independent and creating for yourself. And so that's called the dynamic phase. You have these like, once you have finished your period, but before you start ovulating, you can sort of intensely create and organize, and you have almost a sort of, I don't want to say masculine, but it's very like an analytical kind of energy, a concrete creation. And then you move into the phase of expression and communication. And this is when you start to get closer to your ovulation period. And you come back out again. You reemerge in the world. So last week I was in the phase where it was dynamic. And so I was like building my website and writing out sales copy and doing these really like concrete things all by myself, and that felt great. I was right in my flow state with that. And then this week it's like I'm right in the center of the communication. So what better time would it be than to schedule interviews with people? It's like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, moving right with the energy there, and it's cool. So that was the book's called The Optimized Woman, and it's Miranda Gray.
The Optimized Woman.
Yeah,
perfect.
Pretty cool.
There's nothing wrong. And I think this is also, as we're moving into more feminine ways of doing things, and as women are moving into the balance of masculine and feminine, there's nothing wrong like with either one. Like we need both. We need the masculine action, because what's intuition without taking action? They go hand in hand. You can't just feel things. You have to act upon them. I don't like it sometimes when it's too much on the one side or the other. The other day I was asked if I would call myself a feminist, and I actually answered no, I would not, because that word is very emotionally charged. And the women that helped us, with emancipation, they often had to take on very male masculine structures, and they like fought for us, and they have to also find back their way to femininity and the feminine flow. So both of them are important, but I don't like to label it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So do you still feel comfortable guiding us in a meditation?
Absolutely.
So can you tell us a little bit about what the meditation will be about, and then I'll turn it over to you, and you can just, guide us through it.
You know what we'll do? We'll do it, since my focus is always about connecting all the four planes, like the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. How about we do it like this? Is there something that you wish, you would like to connect? Like you talked about the Beta healing that you went to, which is amazing. We both share the book, the Big Leap, and we both know the expansion mantra. Is there something that you would like me to focus on, where I just basically use one topic and I take us through all the four planes and how it shows up?
Well, I am interested in, so what you have mentioned to me sounded very interesting, which was going through the difference between the voice of the ego and the voice of the soul. Is that something that you'd still feel comfortable?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to double check, because
that
I
really
kind of
piqued my interest, and I think that would be cool to go through that.
Okay, because I just wanted to double check with you, because I always go with the flow. And since, we've had this wonderful conversation, maybe it changed. So, but if you still say no, of course, I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's not something that I've heard before, so I'm eager to listen to you.
All right. Do you have a time limit on, like, should I 10 minutes, or is that too long?
10 minutes is perfect. No, 10
Okay.
minutes will wrap us up just nicely.
Good.
So I'm going to get into my comfy position.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Everyone else, get yourself into a comfy position.
So we're going to just start exactly with that, with getting us in our comfortable position. If you're sitting down, just try to keep your spine straight. If you're actually lying down listening to this call, then just relax. Let's start with lying down. I'm assuming you're lying down, and then we'll go to sitting. So if you're lying down, just open up the palms to the heavens, and then just feel your belly relax, and take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And if you're sitting, listening to this call and this meditation, just make sure that you align your spine, being straight, imagining that you're like a tree growing upwards, and you place your feet on the ground like roots growing into the earth, and you take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. You can place your hands with the palms facing down on your knees. And if you want to, if it makes you feel safe, you close your eyes. If you want to keep your eyes open, that's good too. It's all up to you, what makes you feel safe and secure and protected. And keep breathing deep. And today's meditation is all about identifying the voice of fear over the voice of love. The voice of fear typically shows up in shoulds, in musts, in have-tos, and in ought-tos. And it often is very, very loud, almost has the feeling and energy of a bully. I actually call it the bully inside. The bully inside that tells me, you have to finish these 3 things today. You have to finish them. You absolutely have to. And then the voice of love shows up really quietly, gently, lovingly, and tells you, just go take a walk first. And then the voice of fear shows up again. No, you can't take a walk. You've got too much to do. Are you crazy? And you sit down at your computer and you try to get it done, and it just won't work. It just won't work. You can't concentrate. You can't focus. And that's when the voice of love shows up gently, nudgingly, lovingly, telling you, just take a walk. Just take a walk. Take a deep breath and take a walk. And as time passes, you learn to listen to the voice of love, because you're not getting anything done anyway. So you go take your walk, You take deep breaths and imagine you're taking that walk right now. You have your favorite spot that you like to walk to, your favorite park, your favorite lake you like to walk around, whatever it may be. Take a walk and identify those have-tos, those shoulds, those musts that you were confronted with today. Identify them and just let them be. Just let them be. It's like you're the neutral watcher of your thoughts. And you're still taking your walk in your beautiful place. And you might see vibrant birds chirping and bathing and flying and squirrels jumping, whatever you may see. And take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. So you're sitting with those shoulds, those have-tos, those musts, those ought-tos. And as you're taking your walk, you're actually asking the voice of love, that nurturing voice inside of you. How could I do the same thing? How could I get this one thing done? This ought to, this have to, this must. But actually do it in a loving way, in a nurturing way, in a nourishing way, a way that supports me and doesn't beat me up as much. Take a deep breath and just sit with it. And your strong, inner, nurturing, loving voice will give you an inkling, a sense of what you could do to get it done, but just in a different energy. In the energy of love, nurturing, nourishment, and support. And then see how the two feel. See how the ought-tos, have-tos, musts, and shoulds feel. And feel the nourishing solution that your kind inner voice just presented to you. And on those two different feelings, make your choice. Do you want to follow the voice of fear or the voice of love? Do you choose to trust love or do you want to hustle with fear? Deep breath in, deep breath out, and just make your choice. And you're walking, and you're walking, and you feel your heart open, and maybe you've got goosebumps, and you're feeling good, and you're feeling light, and you're feeling, duh, of course, I can do the same thing. I can get it done. Of course I can get it done. I'm gonna get it done, but I'm gonna get it done in love, with support, feeling nourished, feeling nurtured, in lightness, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be joyous. And there we are. So just slowly come out of the meditation and just feel that good feeling, that warm feeling, that nourishing solution that your soul just presented you with. How are you feeling, Nicole?
I have to say that you just turning the computer back on. The screen went down while I was meditating. Thank you so much to say that. It's just inspired me to look at my to-do list in a much different way now.
Yay.
Well, I hope everybody out there really enjoyed that. We're just about to wrap up. And Nadia, thank you so much. And thank you for leaving us in such a peaceful, warm, wonderful state of mind.
It was my pleasure. My absolute pleasure.
Yeah, so lovely to connect with you, and I really look forward to seeing what you create and put out there in the world, and wish you all the best of luck for your business and this brand new journey that you're on now.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Nadia, I'll speak to you soon.
Okay.
Enjoy your day.
Bye.
Bye.